Hey everyone, we're here to go ahead and disassemble and do a screen replacement on the Sony Xperia Z1s. This is the T-Mobile version of the phone. There's not a lot of differences between this phone and the Z phone. The Z1 phone. You can see that we got a shatter right here on the corner of the screen. So the tools that we're going to use to go ahead and do this repair. I need a few. I'm just going to adjust my light here real quick, see if I can't get rid of some of the shadow. We're going to use a suction cup, a Torx screwdriver, a plastic nylon spudger, a couple of pry tools here, guitar picks, and then one of my favorite tools, this iSesamo tool, nice thin piece of metal. It works great. And a heat gun. We'll need this to remove the front and the back of the phone. We'll heat around the outside edge of this device. Get it nice and warm. We want it to be warm to the touch. We don't want to melt the plastic bezel of the device, but we want to get it warm enough that will loosen the 3M double-sided adhesive that's behind this. I don't know if it's 3M, but it's definitely got some sticky adhesive behind here that holds the frame down to the back plate. So it's getting it nice and warm. Then we'll go ahead and use our tile suction cup here. We're going to start down here at the bottom. We'll use this to pull up and see if we can't get some leverage on the back of the device here to stick a guitar pick under. This is not a glass back, it's actually kind of like a plastic, or it might be a thin glass style, but it does have a little bit of flex to it. So we're just going to use our guitar pick and go around the sides here and just loosen the adhesive up all the way around. There's nothing in the middle. It's on this particular phone. It's all around just the edge of the device. So cut down through. It's a pretty easy removal at this point. You want to be careful with the camera, just right here in the corner. It's just got a little bit of adhesive. You can mess up the corner of the device if you're not careful. I usually do that last here at the top by the camera, since it's a little bit thinner and it has the hole. You don't want to actually crack the plastic or the glass here. So let's work our way down and around. Get to this point, we can just kind of pull it away. And see, here's the adhesive that's pulling away. Excellent. And there's our glass back. Now the next step that we're going to do is go ahead and disassemble the interior portion of the phone. We need to take out some screws here for the top cover. All the black screws around the interior of the phone that I'm pointing out here will all need to be removed to take the top cover off. So just using our Torx screwdriver, go ahead and pull those out. Here's our second. This is the third. A lot of them don't want to come out of their slots, even though I'm using a magnetized screwdriver. Here's our fourth. And the fifth. Alright, then we can use a tool to go ahead and try to pry this back cover. It's got just a couple little slots here on the side that hold it in place. It's a little tricky here at the top since it's rounded. To get this part off, you want to lay it flat and then pull straight up. It took me a few seconds to realize that of how to get this out. Since if you pull it forward, it actually wants to cup underneath the logic board. So I'm just going to try to wiggle it free the top side here real fast. Let's lay it flat again and see if we can't pry it out. There we go. Alright, and that'll reveal the logic board. You can see this rounded connector here. This is for the battery. It kind of loops up and around and then back down into the connector. We also need to take the bottom plate off. We'll do that next. So we have a few screws down here that are Torx screws as well. Go ahead and remove all the screws holding this down. This will be our first. This is our second. And here is the third. Go ahead and pop our battery connector off here. We can work to try to pry the battery out. There's not a lot of adhesive holding the battery in. It's pretty easy removal on this phone, so you shouldn't have to heat anything up. Next thing you're going to do is try to remove this bottom plate down here that holds everything in. Now you want to be careful as you're removing this. It actually is still connected to the speaker on the bottom down here, so you don't want to just try to rip it all off. You want to kind of pry it forward and then lay it into the battery connection area. I'm just prying in any of the open spaces to see if I can get some leverage on how to get this loosened here. Got a little bit of work here. It's starting to loosen up, so we're just going to pry down here at the bottom just a little bit. We want to be nice and careful. We don't want to put a lot of force on this. We got it pop free, so we're just going to pull the front of it out, and then we're going to roll it back. Like this. A little blue adhesive here that covers up the slot that we need to get to, so we're just going to pull that adhesive off. Use a pair of tweezers to kind of pull it back. We're going to go ahead and remove the connector here. This pries up. That'll let us remove the bottom speaker port. We're going to take off the connector that holds down the bottom portion of the adhesive portion of the screen. You can see that it has this copper cover here, a little bit of tape. So the cable that we're going to disconnect is this black one in the middle for the screen replacement. We're just going to undo some of the tape to give us a little extra loosening play once we start to remove everything here. Little connector for the digitizer. So we're going to pop off the connector here at the top. And we're just going to pull the cable back all the way down. Now, it looks like down here at the bottom it's actually got a little bit more adhesive holding down, so I'm going to use my nylon sponge to kind of wiggle this free. Perfect. And it looks like it's actually got a piece of it stuck underneath the second cable off to the left there. I'm going to have to look at that here real quick and see if it's going to be removed without having to remove that. It looks like it's going to be okay. It's nothing too crazy. It's just a little tiny portion of the cable is off underneath this portion of the cable off to the left. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to pull and give a little bit more leeway underneath this cable. So when I go to reinstall the new screen, I don't have a hard time trying to put everything back together. There's the cable connection. That's for the volume, the power buttons, so we're not going to remove it or do anything else. It looks like this is all that we're going to need to disassemble on the device to go ahead and remove the front screen off of it. We're going to go ahead and do that next. So we're going to use our heat gun to go ahead and heat the device up on the front. We're going to use our same tile suction cup here to get it to lift off once we get it started. Go ahead and heat all the sides up, the edges. Again, we don't want to get it extremely hot, so we don't want to melt the plastic or anything around the sides, but what we want to do is get it warm enough to loosen the adhesive behind it. And this being, normally that seems like the phones that are rated as water resistant have a lot thicker adhesive on it than some of the other devices. So we may need to get it pretty warm to get this to where we want it to be. This feels pretty warm to the touch, so we're going to go ahead and use our suction cup here. We're going to go ahead and try to pull this back. See if we can't get our pick in here. It's feeling pretty stuck down, so I'm going to use my Disassembly tool here to get us started. So it's going to run it back and forth a little bit, see if we can't get a start underneath the glass. The reason I'm not going to use this for the entire repair is I've dinged a couple of bezels using a metal tool on it, so I'm going to try to be a little bit careful with it. I don't want to ding the bezel, it's in pretty good shape. We'll try up here in this upper corner, see if we can't get a start up here. A little more cracked, and we might be able to start under one of the corners here. Use a different pick with a different starting point. It's been a little bit of a tricky screen to remove, especially since it's already fractured. Trying to remove that is going to crack a little bit more. It's got the cracks all the way around. I'm not seeing a good entry point on it. We're going to put a little bit more heat on it up here in this corner, and maybe this is where we'll start at, since it's a solid piece up here, it looks like. Pretty much got a little bit warmer. We're going to go ahead and try to gain entry here again. Now I'm being pretty gentle with it. I'm trying not to damage the LCD behind it because it is still good, but it seems like with this particular phone and the amount of adhesive tape that's on it, we may actually have to give it a little bit more brute force and just pull it apart. So I've got my pry tool underneath it, and we're making progress underneath. Right there we got a little bit of a crack, an additional shatter onto the glass already. You can kind of start underneath the front-facing speaker area. You can see that it's just starting to crack a little bit further as I start to try to remove it. A glass-only replacement on this phone would be extremely difficult, it looks like. We've made some good progress down the side of the phone. I'm going to use my pry tools to help it stay off of the screen. I don't want to re-adhere itself back down. Anytime you hit a new shatter point on the phone, you have to start basically the adhesive removal all over again, because it doesn't want to lift off. If you have a big long section, it's much easier to get the entire piece off. It's getting a little bit sticky down here. So I'll use my Disassembly tool to help us lift this off. Using a nice flat end to get under a couple of shattered points at one time. Work it around and make sure that it's staying unadhered to the frame. See, it's starting to kind of fill it way back in up here at the top. We're going to go ahead and put some more heat on it. We want to make it as easy as possible, so we'll heat it again. Try to gain entry down here again. Try to get this glass to pull off for us. It's a little bit tricky. The top and the bottom have a lot more adhesive around it, where it has more surface area to get the tape to stick. The sides are pretty easy. It's not very thick, so it cuts through pretty quickly. So I'm going to try to pull the screen off through the bottom portion here. See if we can cut some more adhesive through all the way down. See, we're starting to get it to pull away. Now you want to be careful at the bottom. You want to stick it too far through. If you got the cable down there, you're trying to save your screen, you don't want to cut that. Let's use our pick up here at the top to try to get some more of this adhesive removed. There's so much up here. Let's work our tool around. Go ahead and pull this portion out. Alright, and there you have it. We've removed the screen off of the phone. See, the back side of it looks like it does have a backlight on it as well. The next step is just go ahead and remove all of the adhesive off the front of the device. You want to take off anything that particles of glass or anything that might cause the new screen you're putting on to pull up or have a ridge. So make sure you're pretty diligent in cleaning this up. Make it look nice and pretty. If you found the video helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. I'd appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and throw them down in the comments field. And if you have any other questions about this, I'm just showing you a couple different places the front-facing or the rear-facing camera can be replaced just right here. Looks like the earpiece speaker should be pretty easy. If you do need to replace your power button, it looks like it's one cable as well. If you have any questions, throw them down in the comments. If you want to see any new videos, you can subscribe to me. And I'll throw the part 2 of this video, putting this new screen on, down in the comments, so you can look that up as well. As always, thanks for watching.